Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Azumi, a Japanese action film from 2003. Now there's one word to describe this movie: awesome. This is an adaptation of Yu Koyama's manga series of the same title. Now it's set in 17th century Japan, and in this film, Azumi, our lead character, is one of a band of assassins whose mission requires the elimination of 3 leaders bent on starting a war. So their master is a man named Jiji, who is ordered by the Tokugawa Shogunate to assassinate Toyotomi Hideyoshi's most powerful 3 allies. So their overall goal here is basically to prevent a war from developing by murdering the 3 basically warmongers. Now the viewer needs to understand something here right from the start. This movie is over the top and unrealistic. So this is not something like The Hidden Blade, which I recently covered, which was very grounded in realism. With that said, however, this movie has a very good dramatic foundation to it, and is very well made overall. A lot of the character relationships really work here, and there are a handful of impactful moments. For example, there is one training sequence very early in the film that is quite shocking, actually, serving as an early surprise for viewers, but it also does an excellent job of developing the protagonist's mindsets. The old master here, Jiji, has a certain philosophical outlook and practical strategy when leading these young assassins on their mission. Now, I won't spoil anything, but their master forces them into a life-changing decision very early on in the film. And it's actually one of the more thought-provoking moments in this movie, because I'm not entirely sure that I agree with his strategy, even though I totally understand where he's coming from. And this is one reason why I think Azumi is a very underrated film. It has far more dramatic weight than one might expect, and few people have given it the credit that it deserves. Almost nobody mentions this as part of their, favorite Japanese movies of the past, 15 years or even of all time. But it's high on mine. I love this movie. Now, one reason I think that it's gotten some mixed reviews, I think, generally positive, but still some mixed, is the casting of 17-year-old Aya Ueto in the lead role. Now, Aya is not an elite actress by any means, but she does have some credible performances on her resume. My Little Chef from 2002, she was very good in that. Install from 2004 and Ocean from 2013 are 3 such examples of her acting chops. She was very good in those. But I think her role in Azumi represents probably her most entertaining role in her entire filmography. She exhibits a nice range of emotion and has a very endearing personality to relate to. And in general, critics seem to have a problem with her petite physique, given the fact that she kills a lot of bad guys in this movie. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. It's completely absurd, but I love it. I guess maybe the argument could be made that they should have cast a more athletic, physically imposing actress in the role, but I gotta say that watching a 17-year-old girl slice through armies of people is just utterly fantastic, especially given the dramatic weight behind everything. And that brings us to the action, which consists mainly of sword fights that are highly entertaining. So the first big battle takes place in a forest and also features some ninja. Yes, you get a dose of ninja shenanigans as an added bonus to this film. The next big battle is a nighttime assault on one of the warlords, which is very good. And then we have the finale, which is just utterly phenomenal. The fight choreography overall is not as impressive or complex as something like the Rurouni Kenshin trilogy from recent years, but it does show a wide variety of styles and enemies. So you get hordes of samurai and nutty mercenaries, but you also get a monkey-like fighter, ninjas, and a psychotic mass-murdering swordsman. Now, the colorful and memorable characters are a big reason why this movie is so much fun. A lot of characters in this film are just really memorable, you know what I mean? There's very few characters here that just fade into the background. The psychotic swordsman, who goes by the name of Bijomaru, is a fantastic villain played by Joe Origiri, who just chews the scenery and steals every scene he's in. I love him in this movie. Now, this was directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, the man who gave us Versus from 2000. Now, I've always held the opinion that Kitamura has an excellent visual style, and that is certainly evident in this film. His camera work really helps to hold interest from start to finish. There's some odd choices here, too. Some really cool stuff. Azumi was made when Kitamura was on a hot streak early in his career. But unfortunately, from about 2007 through 2013, he was basically just sitting around doing nothing or making an American movie now and then. But fortunately, he has returned to the Japanese film industry with Lupin the Third, which was released in 2014. So hopefully he can regain that energy that made his early career efforts so interesting to watch. Now, one final note on Azumi is that the music is also excellent. It's a blend of percussion and guitar riffs that somehow works miraculously with the samurai setting. Again, kind of an unorthodox musical experimentation here that would likely end in disaster for most samurai era films, but it friggin' works here. Maybe because the film has a bit of a high energy style to it. It's just fantastic. You can actually find the entire score on YouTube, so definitely check that out. So I highly recommend Azumi, which is widely available on DVD. However, the American version is edited to a degree and cuts out some good stuff, so I would recommend that you seek out the 142-minute director's cut. It's a bit more difficult to find, but worth the effort. Again, used to be more widely available, and I've said this in my Asian Horror Year in Review playlist recently, where some of these films were more widely available about 10 years ago, but they've gotten out of print or whatever. But if you can't find the director's cut, just go ahead and get the American release, which is widely available, because it doesn't really detract that much. You know, what it cuts out is good stuff, but definitely the American release is still highly entertaining. So those are my thoughts on Azumi. It's one of my favorite Japanese films of all time, actually. I know I'm in the minority on that, but whatever. I'm just telling you how I see it. And as always, we'll see you next time.